Warner Brothers doesn't commit to games, it commits to spreadsheets. And once you look at Injustice 3 through that lens, the situation starts to feel a lot less secure than people think. Let's talk about it. Chapter 1. Injustice was built in a different Warner Brothers era. When Injustice 1 and Injustice 2 came out, Warner Brothers was a very different company. They were more relaxed. They were more patient. They were willing to let games grow to find their footing and identity. Back then, the question wasn't, did this hit immediately? The question was, can this become something? Games were allowed to be imperfect. Balance took time. Communities formed naturally. Injustice wasn't treated like a quarterly gamble. It was treated like a franchise. Support lasted. Trust was built. That environment mattered because Injustice only worked when it was given time. That version of Warner Brothers just simply doesn't exist anymore. Chapter 2. The company changed, not the audience. What changed wasn't the audience. People didn't suddenly stop caring about DC. They didn't suddenly lose interest in fighting games. What changed was the company. Warner Brothers Discovery today operates under debt, pressure, and constant performance expectations. That changes how decisions get made in boardrooms. Long-term development becomes risky. Patience becomes expensive. Games stop being creative bets. They become performance checkpoints. And once performance is the only metric, anything that doesn't hit fast enough becomes expendable and simply vanish. Chapter 3. When results aren't immediate, projects don't survive. We don't have to guess how this mindset played out. We've already watched it happen. Monolith Productions was shut down. That alone should have raised alarms because Monolith wasn't struggling. They delivered. They delivered the Shadow games. They created the Nemesis system, and they were working on the Wonder Woman game as well. And this is why that cancellation hits differently for us. Wonder Woman was highly anticipated. It wasn't controversial. It didn't fail publicly. There was no backlash campaign. It just simply vanished. And think about what that actually means. Wonder Woman wasn't a risky character when you think about it. It wasn't niche. It wasn't experimental. Strong brand, built-in audience, proven studio. If that didn't make the cut, then safety doesn't exist anymore. And if safety doesn't exist, neither does patience. That fear doesn't stay isolated, guys. It gets transferred directly to injustice. Chapter 4. Short lifespans are becoming the new normal. And this wasn't a one-off decision. We've seen how quickly projects are abandoned. Multiverse launched, gained traction, and was pulled offline. Not reworked, not slowly improved, just shut down. We've seen studios closed, projects shelved, support end early instead of being reinforced. This isn't about quality, it's about tolerance. And Warner Brothers Discovery tolerance is extremely low. When companies stop investing time, they stop earning our trust. Chapter 5. The pattern laid out. Now, I don't want this to feel emotional. I want it to feel clear to you. So for a few seconds, look at this. Look at your screen. When you look at this, what jumps out? Isn't just the cancellations. It's the speed. Projects don't get time to recover. Studios don't get second chances. Everything is evaluated fast, and that's the problem. That's not how creative industries work. That's how balance sheets work. And it's important to say this clearly. None of this points to developers. I want to make that clear. This points to publisher behavior. This is executive decision making. As the saying goes, we can't fix what they refuse to measure. Chapter 6. Why Injustice 3 is vulnerable right now. This is why Injustice 3 is in a dangerous place. It would launch in a superhero fatigue era with higher expectations and a lot less goodwill. And a publisher that has already shown it won't wait. Injustice needs time. It needs momentum. It needs commitment. But this version of Warner Brothers Discovery doesn't operate that way. And this isn't just about Warner Brothers losing money. It's about fans, us, losing time, learning systems, buying DLC, investing in communities that don't get protected. Once that trust breaks, we hesitate to invest again. So if Injustice 3 does happen, it won't be treated like a long-term franchise. It'll be treated like a test. And history tells us what happens when tests don't hit immediately. And to be honest, this is the part that doesn't get talked about enough. When companies start treating games like tests instead of worlds, they don't just hurt sales, they hurt confidence. Because fighting games live on trust. Trust that the systems you will learn matter. Trust that the characters you invest in will be supported. Trust that the time you put in won't be erased by the next quarterly report. Once that trust cracks, us, the audience, don't rush back. We wait. We hesitate. And hesitation is deadly in a launch window for any company. So when people ask why Injustice 3 feels risky, it's not about gameplay. It's not about roster choices. It's about the environment it would be launching in today. An environment where patience is gone, where tolerance is low, and where projects don't get second chances. Injustice doesn't need to be perfect on day one. I want to make that clear. It needs to be protected. And right now, protection isn't something Warner Brothers is known for. And once you recognize that, you stop asking whether Injustice 3 can happen and start asking whether it would be allowed to succeed. So that brings me to this. The part we need to sit with. This behavior doesn't stop with the games. If Warner Brothers was willing to counsel a game like Wonder Woman in support for Mortal Kombat 1 and completely vanquish Multiverse and shut down studios with proven track records, then we need to seriously talk about what that means for the upcoming Mortal Kombat 2 movie. Not because of the movie itself, but because it's walking into the same corporate environment. That's the next conversation.